The promise of vertical farming. Hi there, everyone. I'm Jeff, and you are listening to Plain English. At Plain English, we help you upgrade your English with lessons about current events and trending topics. This is lesson number 417, so that means you can find the full lesson at plainenglish.com/417. Coming up today, a new way to farm. It requires, get this, no soil. As always, we have an English expression today that is take up space. And JR has a song of the week. Let's get going. Vegetables grow in gardens and fields. They derive nutrients from the soil, rainfall, and sunshine. Modern farmers can assist the process of growing plants with fertilizer, irrigation, and pesticides. But the basics have been the same since the dawn of the agricultural age: seeds, soil, sunshine, and rainfall. Now, some entrepreneurs think it doesn't have to be that way. And in some of the world's biggest cities, vegetables sold in local markets are grown locally under LED lamps and are given all the nutrients they need to grow in precise measurements, no soil needed. And rather than being spread out horizontally across a field, these plants are stacked high, one on top of another in a warehouse. This type of farming is catching on in places ranging from San Francisco to Dubai and Switzerland to Shanghai. Welcome to the phenomenon known as vertical farming. If a horizontal farmer uses a tractor, a vertical farmer uses a forklift. A vertical farm is typically a warehouse where vegetables are grown for human consumption. They can be large or small. In San Francisco, a company named Plenty has a warehouse measuring 8,000 square meters, about the size of a large supermarket. But other vertical farms are packed into small shipping containers in big city parking lots. There are several advantages to vertical farms. First, they take up a lot less space than traditional farms. The Plenty warehouse in San Francisco, for example, yields as much produce as a traditional farm, over 300 times larger. Secondly, they are close to consumers, so each vegetable has to travel a shorter distance to take its rightful place in our salad bowls. This reduces costs and greenhouse gas emissions. Agriculture requires intense irrigation and watering, but so much of the water sprayed onto a large field is wasted. Only a portion of it is slurped up by the roots of the plants. In a vertical farm, there is no waste. Plants are given all the water they need to grow, but no more. Aero farms based in New Jersey says it can grow plants with 95% less water than they would require in a field. The same precision that goes into watering plants also goes into feeding them. In a vertical farm, there's no soil because there's no need for it. The plant's roots are instead suspended in a solution of water and nutrients, carefully calibrated to give the plants exactly what they need to grow efficiently. There's no soil, so guess what else isn't in an urban farm? That's right, weeds, bugs, or anything else that can threaten the health of the plant. And without weeds, bugs, or other pests, there's no need for chemical pesticides, so the resulting produce is healthier for humans to consume. There are no seasons in a vertical farm either, so the growing season need not stop during the cold New York winters. And with water and nutrients given out in ideal proportions, the conditions for growth are optimized and produce grows faster than it would otherwise grow in a field. Well, with all those advantages, why then isn't our whole salad bowl farmed in a warehouse? Well, there are several limitations. First, the science is still in the early going. At this point, vertical farms typically only grow produce that's light, high value, and relatively easy to grow. That means crunchy greens like lettuce, kale, and arugula, or herbs like basil and mint. These are easier to grow and easier to fit in the high stacks of a vertical farm. Another limitation is LED lighting. There's no sunshine in a vertical farm, but the plants still need light to grow. They get that from LED lights. While the cost of LED lighting is falling steadily, the light fixtures are still a big expense. And that brings us to another high cost input: electricity. In many places, the electricity used in a vertical farm is produced from fossil fuels, denting the environmental benefit of indoor farming. For now, it only makes economic sense to grow those high-value, lighter crops for which city dwellers will pay a premium. But as the technology improves and costs come down, more and more types of produce could be grown closer to home in a much greener fashion and at a more appetizing price. Berries should be a good candidate for urban vertical farming. Think about it. They're difficult to grow in a field, they're expensive to pick, and there's a lot of waste since they're delicate and they get bruised easily in shipping. Now, here in a cold climate, we get strawberries all year round. In the winter, of course, a strawberry has to be shipped from California or someplace warm. Now, to stay fresh on the Chicago shelves, the strawberry needs to be picked before it's ripe. So during the off season, the strawberries on our shelves are pinkish on the outside and not exactly bursting with flavor on the inside. Same with tomatoes. Well, growing berries closer to home would mean that they could be picked closer to their peak ripeness, and then they'd be much more flavorful in my Cheerios. Today's expression is a really good one, and to be perfectly honest, it's a weird one. The expression is to take up space. Take up space simply means to require space. It's a measure of how big or bulky something is. And every physical thing takes up space. So when we use the phrase, we're often making comparisons between how big or bulky two things are. So let's practice. A car takes up more space than a motorcycle. A football field takes up more space than a basketball court. Let's try the opposite. A travel umbrella takes up less space than a golf umbrella. T-shirts and swimsuits take up less space in your suitcase than sweaters and jackets. And as you heard in today's lesson, vertical farms take up less space than traditional farms. For the same amount of production, a vertical farm is smaller. It requires less area than a traditional farm. We often use take up space when we're comparing how big something is to the space available for it. I recently went to Europe and I have this pillow that's supposed to help me sleep on the plane. I hate this pillow. I don't know why I still have it. First of all, it's not that comfortable. And second of all, it takes up a lot of space in my small carry-on. I don't have a lot of space available. And this thing is big and bulky, and it takes up a lot of space. It's too big relative to the amount of space I have available. Are you a coffee fan? A traditional espresso machine with a steamer for cappuccinos takes up a lot of space on your kitchen counters. If you just like espresso, you can get a small little espresso maker that uses little pods. Now, that's not as good as a real espresso machine, but it takes up a lot less space on your countertops. Thanksgiving is coming. It's traditional here in the US to make a turkey on Thanksgiving, and often there's a lot of turkey left over for the next day. After Thanksgiving dinner, all the leftovers go in the fridge, and the one thing that takes up the most space in the refrigerator is the turkey. You can put that whole turkey in there, but you can also carve the turkey beforehand and only put the carvings in the fridge. That takes up less space than putting that whole bird in there. When I wrote this lesson, I was keeping an eye on a football game on TV. The first TV I ever bought was not a flat screen TV. That thing took up a lot of space in my living room. It was big and bulky. Well, this one in my living room now is sleek and flat, and it's hanging on the wall. It barely takes up any space at all. Speaking of my living room, it's so hard to shop for furniture. When you're in a furniture store, you never really know how big the pieces will seem in your house. I bought my living room couch over 15 years ago. I absolutely love it. It's so comfortable. But when I bought it, I got it home to my very small living room. I looked at it and I said, wow, I had no idea it was going to take up so much space in my living room. I had no idea it was going to be so big relative to the small amount of space I have available, or I had available at the time. Well, today I have a much bigger living room, and the couch, the same couch as before, doesn't seem like it takes up very much space at all. So it's all about perspective. Here's a way to use take up space sarcastically. Think of something in your house that's useless. You don't need it. You don't know why you have it. I'll tell you one thing from my house. I have some cookbooks in my kitchen. Newsflash, I don't use cookbooks. I rarely even use recipes. If I do cook from a recipe, I get the recipe online. So what are these cookbooks doing in my kitchen? All they are doing is taking up space. Those cookbooks are doing nothing but sitting there, preventing me from using the space for something better. All they're doing is taking up space. Today's song of the week is "And the Grass Won't Pay No Mind" by Neil Diamond. It's not exactly grammatical, but here's what it means in context. The singer is inviting someone, a girl presumably, to go for a walk in nature, and he's saying the grass won't pay no mind, or the grass won't pay any attention. It's originally an Elvis song, but JR has chosen the Neil Diamond version. Well, that brings us to the end of today's lesson number 417. Congratulations on all of your hard work, and thank you for making plain English a part of your study plan. A listener sent me a note the other day asking where to find the transcripts of the lessons. Well, there are two ways, and first, you can find any transcript by the lesson number. Today is 417, so you can get the full transcript by visiting plainenglish.com/417. But what happens if you don't know the lesson number? Or, better yet, you already listened to today's lesson, but you want to explore more of our 400 plus topics? The best way to do that is to join as a free member. And once you're in, and it is free, once you're in, you'll have a menu at the top of the page called Libraries. And that's how you can explore the 400 plus lessons, 400 plus expressions too. And if you're a Plain English Plus member, you can explore the over 200 how-to videos, all from that same menu, Libraries, at the top of the page. And you can also bookmark the lessons you want to listen to in the future. It's all there, at plainenglish.com. And like I said, the best way to get that is to sign up as a free member. No credit card required for the free membership at plainenglish.com. That's not how we roll. Well, we'll be back on Monday with a new lesson. See you then.